What's up guys, welcome back to your Heroclix headquarters. So today I actually wanted to talk about my top 5 picks for Buster suits in Heroclix. If you guys have been watching my channel for a while or just look back, my very first video was top 5 Iron Man, and I've been wanting to do top 5 Buster suits. So this is a list I've been wanting to do for a while, and since we're almost at 100 videos, I thought it might be about time to get to it. So without further ado, let's check out the list. Alright, and coming in at our number 5 pick, we have the Hulkbuster suit, straight out of Avengers Age of Ultron, the movie set. Looks good, looks just like the movie, you know, looks really cool. He does have Avengers Initiative team ability there too, so it can see through hindering. But taking a look at his card, he starts off with the trait Avengers Assemble. Once per turn when Hulkbuster hits one or more characters with a close combat attack and actions resolve, the opposing player chooses. They can either modify Hulkbuster's defense value by +2 until your next turn, or Hulkbuster can make a close combat attack as a free action against a hit target, modifying his attack value by -2 for the attack. So pretty cool that when he hits with a close attack, he either gets a defense buff or an extra free close attack against the hit target if they're still alive, because he does do a lot of damage. So if he gets a second attack off and actually hits, it's pretty much gonna kill that character. But it is up to your opponent, so you never know. You can't really count too much on what they're gonna pick. And then his other trait, designed to put you down, Bruce. At the beginning of the game, for all characters with this trait, choose an opposing character with either the giant symbol, colossal symbol, team base symbol, or the vehicle symbol. That character can't ignore pushing damage or have its combat values increased. So that's actually, I think, the best part about this figure, because he is coming in at either 300 or 225 points. So really, you're probably only going to want to use this guy in like a 500 or 600 plus point game. And only really if you know your opponent's going to play like a colossal figure or something. But that is super, super helpful if you're going against a colossal figure that they can't ignore their pushing damage and they can't get any type of increase to their combat values. Like, you know that new Galactus figure that just came out? Yeah, this guy would be pretty mean to play against him because he wouldn't be able to ignore pushing damage or get any kind of stat modifiers. Then he also has this special on his attack that says when making a close combat attack, you may decrease Hulkbuster's printed attack value by up to 3, and if you do, increase Hulkbuster's printed damage value up to the same amount. If you do, both combat values can't be replaced or otherwise modified. So I love that for if you really just need to hit somebody for like 8 damage right off the bat. He will go down to a 9 attack though. Just a quick look at his top dial stats there. He's got 12 movement with charge, 12 attack with this attack special, 19 defense with the defense special we'll take a look at in a second, and a 5 damage with exploit weakness, flight, indomitable, and giant size, and a nice little 5 range there. But the really cool thing about this knockout punch, I actually, if you use that with the Avengers Assemble trait, if you hit somebody with a close attack and 5 exploit weakness doesn't kill them right away, and for some reason your opponent says, go ahead and make a second attack on me with -2 to your attack, the cool thing is you can actually then use the knockout punch to say, I'm going to -1 my attack and +1 my damage, and now neither combat values can be otherwise modified. So the -2 from this will be like gone. It won't be able to. It won't be -3, it'll just be the -1 because it can't be otherwise modified. Or you can go all in and just do a -3 to do +3 damage, and you know it's going to cap out at -3, so again the -2 isn't going to come into effect anyway. But you know, whatever, you get a second attack and it kills something, it's pretty awesome. Then he also has this special on his defense that says Hulkbuster can use Invincible, and when Hulkbuster is hit by an attack from a character that can use giant, colossal, team base, or vehicle symbols, modify that character's damage value by -1. So, you know, just nice. They get -1 damage when they're attacking him. And, you know, he's got Invincible, so he can't take more than 3 at once anyway. And he reduces 2, so he could potentially reduce 3. And a lot of time that's enough to the point where they can only do 1 or 2 damage. However, this guy is a lot of points, 300 or 225. So, I mean, I already kind of mentioned how it's basically going to be your whole team, so you're going to want to play bigger point games with him. But he's really, really not worth the points. If we just take a quick look at the rest of his dial there. So he has that first click with really awesome stats, but then he quickly goes down to much more basic stats, and then he kind of clicks down into some kind of pathetic looking stats there. Starts to pretty quickly go down to like a 17 and 16 defense even, and you know, his 9 attack isn't really going to cut it, and 8 clicks of life for 300 points, you know, not quite enough. If he had 10 or 11, definitely be more worth it. If he doesn't have so many 16s on his dial, he could be way better. But a very fun figure at the very least. I have enjoyed playing him quite a few times. And like I said, if you get that knockout punch attack off and just destroy something, it can be a lot of fun. So for all those reasons, he's coming in at number 5. And taking our number 4 spot here, we have the new Thor Buster, well, new-ish Thor Buster from the Mighty Thor set. Technically, as of making this video, this is the newest Buster suit that we have. The only one yet to have the new cards. So we'll take a look at what he can do. He's got a trait here that says Mystical Power Rechanneled. When Thor Buster takes damage from the Mystics team ability or an attack from a character with the Asgardian deity or mystical keywords, after resolutions, heal him a click. So situational, but very handy if you happen to go against a bunch of mysticals. Another trait that says to break up the Thor worship cult, opposing characters within range and line of fire can't use or have their combat values modified by empower or enhancement. So kind of random, but you know, pretty cool. At least they're not going to be using a bunch of enhancement to try and shoot you down with, or any empower when they get close. And then really, really awesome attack power actually. Thorbuster deals penetrating damage when he attacks a character that can use invincible, modify damage by +2. I believe this set actually came out maybe right before the rules change, because that means he'd be hitting for 6, and they wouldn't be able to take more than 3 if they had invincible and you reduce 2. So I mean, honestly, it could just say increases damage by 1 and he'd be hitting for 5, they'd still take 3. Still really awesome to get that additional damage in, and all of his attacks are penetrating, so whether it's his running shot or if he punches someone up close, it doesn't really matter. I do love that he starts out with a 19 defense with Impervious, but lack of flight is pretty rough. That does suck. But he's got a 6 range, 10 movement with running shot, 11 attack, and 4 damage. 4 damage for quite a bit of his dial there. Then he goes down to a 3 with some outwit and sidestep. Overall, a really solid 125 point figure. I do wish they would have given him flight. That would have made him a lot better, but he does have some really good traits, if just a little situational. The attack power is really great. For that reason, he's coming in at number 4. Coming in at number 3, we have the other Thor Buster from, I believe, the Hammer of Thor set. It was like a chase, basically, like one of the first chase figures. Super hard to get, but I did get me one, and he is awesome. Now, right off the bat, lack of Indomitable is the main reason this guy didn't make it to number 2. But he is really great for the points. 140 points. We'll take a quick look at his card here. So he does at least have the Avengers keyword, which is nice. He's got a very unique defense power that says Thorbuster can use toughness, and other characters using Quake, Energy Explosion, or Running Shot deal no damage to Thorbuster. So really interesting. If your opponent tries to use Running Shot to get to him, they're not going to be able to do any damage. Also, if your own friendly characters were to use Energy Explosion while he's tied up with a bunch of characters, at least he won't take any damage from that. And if your opponent has a lot of Quake or Energy Explosion, you at least don't have to worry about him being next to all your friendly characters. So just really cool that there's like 3 powers that he can't take any damage from. But then he has this really cool damage power that says to fight a god. Thorbuster can use exploit weakness, and when Thorbuster attacks a character that has the Asgardian and or deity keywords, modify his damage value by +2. So he doesn't get that till the back half of his dial, but he does start with running shot and pulse wave with an 8 range, so that's really one of the main reasons I like this guy a lot, because running shot and pulse wave is just such a good combo. 11 attack, 4 damage, 10 movement with flight as well, 18 defense with that awesome defense power. Again, no indom. Really the only downside to him is no indom, because he does have quite a long dial for the points actually. And then he gets that cool damage power. Yeah, he's got, I think, like 9 clicks of life. Quite a bit. He does get down to like an 8 attack there, but, you know, at least he's got steel energy. So if he does manage a hit, you know, he might at least heal up some. But, yeah, he's really good. I've used him a few times. He's been great. And so for all those reasons, he's coming in at number 3. All right, and coming in at the number 2 spot, we have here the Phoenixbuster Iron Man. This is actually like the biggest Iron Man figure they've made so far, and they put him on a peanut base. I don't know whose idea that was. He barely squeezes on there. He could have easily been a 2x2, but so be it. There he is. Again, we don't have a new card, so we'll take a quick look at the dial here. To start off with, he's got a 10 range, which is insane. He's also giant size, so he can see over elevated and characters and all that, which is pretty neat. Flight, indom, running shot, pulse wave again. 5 damage, 11 attack, pretty awesome, and an 18 defense there with that invulnerability is pretty nice. And his stats stay pretty good the whole time. He got some good power combos. He does drop after, I think, the 3 or 4 clicks. He goes down to like a 16 defense for the rest of it. So aside from that, though, decent amount of life and good powers and stats. But the main reason, I just love that top dial running shot for 5 damage with pulse wave and 10 range is so insane. 175 points, though, is a good chunk of your team. But he's been well worth it the few times I've played him. Because he also has Avengers, which is pretty nice. But this trait here goes nothing. Phoenixbuster Iron Man's attacks deal penetrating damage if the target character is assigned a relic or resource or possesses any of the following: giant size, colossal size, the power cosmic team ability, the cosmic or phoenix force keyword, or the word phoenix in its name as a separate word. So any phoenix force, any giants or colossals or power cosmics, or even just cosmic keyworded characters, anything that he does is going to be penetrating. All of his attacks are going to be penetrating damage, rather. So 10 range, essentially penetrating blast, is pretty nuts against those colossals for 5 damage. So again, this is one of those kind of figures that you want to whip out when you know you're going to be playing a high point game with a bunch of colossals. Especially, you know, nowadays, again, we've got these awesome Dark Phoenixes, we've got these awesome new Galactuses and everything. So this guy definitely, I'd say, worth picking up if you play some Golden Age games with a lot of colossals. Really awesome, super high damage potential. Easily worth twice his points just for that alone. And of course, this super sick sculpt. Freaking love this. Just looks like a freaking transformer or something. I don't know. It's like a crazy, awesome robot. It looks like an actual toy. It barely looks like a figure. It's so cool. But I don't know. Anyway, for those reasons, he's coming in at number 2. And as always, before we get to our number 1 pick, we have some honorable mentions, or in this case, just one honorable mention. The only other Buster suit that didn't quite make the list, unfortunately. The very first Hulkbuster out of, I believe it was the Monsters and Mutations? Mutations and Monsters? Whatever that set was called. Can't remember off the top of my head right now, but yeah. So pretty old figure. He's still got the flight stand and everything. But, you know, he looks cool. I'll give him that. The classic comic-looking Hulkbuster sculpt. Pretty awesome. 165 points. Again, I do enjoy the fact that they gave all these Buster suits the Avengers keyword. But he's got a special on his movement that gives him charge and running shot. and is adjacent to a giant character only when he is within 1 square of it. So it's kind of interesting to me that they didn't give him giant reach. They just kind of made it so other characters couldn't have giant reach on him. But it does say giant characters, so not really giant reach necessarily. I guess technically new rules of giant reach would kind of get around this with the wording, but it is what it is. You know, it's still a fun ability. And then he has a cool thing on his attack that gives him energy explosion and super strength. It's just really nice that they kind of mix, you know, he's got running shot and charge, and he's got super strength and energy explosion. But I mean, energy explosion is not really that great if we're talking about like a Hulkbuster. You know, good for busting up swarms of enemies, but not busting up a Hulk with any energy explosion. Penetrating blast would have been cool, or pulse wave or something would have been awesome. But you can see his stats there. He's got some flight, no indomitable again, kind of the final nail in the coffin for him. 8 movement, 10 attack, 18 with impervious, 3 damage with exploit, and a 6 range. So really just not the kind of stats you want to see on a Hulkbuster, especially by today's standards. For 165 points. I won't click the rest of his dial because it doesn't really get any better from there, I'll say that much. But yeah, so he was the first Hulkbuster, and he's still pretty cool. So at least for all that, he's getting an honorable mention. And without further ado, let's take a look at our #1 Buster Suit. And smashing its way into the #1 spot, if you haven't guessed it by now, is the Hulkbuster Mark II from the Nick Fury Agent of S.H.I.E.L.D. set. Really awesome figure, and to this day, currently, the only build-a-figure we have in Heroclix. So I don't really want to take him apart, but he does, all these pieces do come off. They all have little pegs in them that you just kind of stick them together. All these little pieces came in booster packs randomly. You know, just the arm, just the leg, the torso, and the base actually too was a separate piece. So you have to collect all 6 pieces to build your Hulkbuster Mark II. So it was pretty fun, kind of annoying to collect all the pieces, because of course back in the day people wanted a lot for just the little pieces. But once you did assemble it, it was freaking awesome. And you actually needed the Iron Man that was in the set as well to kind of pilot him. It's not a vehicle, so it's not piloting. Don't get confused with that. But we'll read the card, and I'll explain why exactly that is here. So he's got a trait here, assembling the Hulkbuster. To play Hulkbuster Mark II, you must have all 5 Hulkbuster Mark II pieces, number 1 through 5, attached to start on the 500 or 300 point starting line. You must attach the number 53 Iron Man by placing him on this card. You don't pay the point cost for any of these attachments, and they can't be added separately to your force. Alright, so what all that means basically is all these little pieces, the arms, legs, torso, and all that, were actually their own individual equipment. Not technically equipment at the time, that was before equipment, but they did basically the same thing. So we'll take a quick look actually, if you guys haven't seen them before. It is pretty cool. So yeah, you have the right leg here. So you can see here it had the rules for equipping it. I guess this was kind of like the first equipment actually, before equipment really became a thing. Because honestly I thought these were relics, but reading it again, it does say to equip them. But anyway, this says, basically the rules, give them power action to equip it. And they all do something like this character can use toughness and the flight ability. The left arm says this character can use exploit weakness. The left leg could use toughness and its attacks generated knockback. And then the other arm was energy explosion with a minimum range value of 6, which 6 is a pretty good range, especially nowadays. And then just invulnerability for the torso there was pretty awesome. But yeah, so that's what all the different pieces did. If you wanted to play them separately on your force. So they were all 10 points as equipment objects, but like it says, you don't have to pay for those, and you don't have to pay for the Iron Man. That's all kind of in his points. And then his other trait here says, modular design. When Hulkbuster Mark II is KO'd Place the 5 attached Hulkbuster Mark II pieces on the map in different squares adjacent to or in the squares Hulkbuster Mark II last occupied. If you started the game with the number 53 Iron Man attached, place him in a square adjacent to or in one of the squares he last occupied on his 50-point starting line. This ability can't be ignored. Basically means it can't be pulse waved and ignored. So really cool if you're playing him on the higher point lines, because then if he would be KO'd, you get to kind of like deconstruct him and place him all over the map, and then you get the Iron Man on his 50-point line, so you still have something to kind of fight back with. And I actually had a friend of mine making these tokens a long time ago, so because I did not want to just rip him apart and drop him all over the map anytime he was KO'd. I'd rather just drop some heavy object tokens, and I actually got the effects written on the back of them as well because I thought that was awesome, and I really just wanted to show these off with him because they're really cool, and I do appreciate my friend making these for me. But yeah, so I do recommend you guys probably get some type of tokens to represent all the pieces, because it is kind of a pain to take them apart and put them back together again, but you know, some people I think have glued them together. I wouldn't do that. He does fit together pretty snugly. But anyway, on to the rest of what he can do. He does have another trait that says when he hits an adjacent opposing character with a critical hit, knock that character back until it hits the edge of the map, destroying all blocking terrain along its path. After actions resolved, deal that character damage equal to the number of walls or squares of blocking terrain it destroyed in its way, which is friggin' awesome. I mean, it's so rare to actually get a crit hit on an adjacent opposing character. Very specific, but if you do manage to do it, boy, you literally just send them flying straight to the edge of the map, destroying everything in their way, and just doing tons of like knockback damage. Is crazy. I have yet to pull that off, but it is a goal of mine. One of these days, I want to see that happen. If you guys have had that happen while playing this figure, please let me know in the comments. I'd love to hear about it. But then he does have a special on his movement here that says he can use Charge and Quake, and you can give him a move action, and after actions resolve, he can use Quake as a free action. So Charge and Quake is nice. Full move and Quake is even better, especially now that, actually when this guy was released, Colossals did not have a 3-square giant reach like they do now. So much better now to get that 3-square reach after your full movement to Quake everything. Is pretty freaking awesome. And then he's got this amazing special defense power that says he can use Impervious, and when he would take more than 2 damage at once, he takes 2 damage instead. This power can't be countered or ignored, which essentially gives it protected Outwit and protected Pulse Wave. So yeah, super, super awesome defense power. You know, Impervious, and even if they use Penetrating Blast, he can't take more than 2. And the cool thing is he like goes to Invincible, I think, and then back to the special power. And then just a look at the back of the card there. Build-A-Clix is what it's called. Actually, I think I called it Build-A-Figure. Build-A-Clix. The only one we have so far. I'd really actually like to see more of these figures. You know, there's so many cool things they could do. Imagine if they did like a Power Rangers set or a Voltron set or something where we got Build-A-Clix of, you know, the big robot. Be freaking awesome. But yeah, just taking a quick look at his dial. Flight, Indom, Colossal Size, 8 range, 11 movement running shot, 12 attack pulse wave, 20 defense, and a 6 damage with Outwit to start with. He is coming in at 500, 300, or 200 points. And again, if you play him at the 500 or 300 line, you need to play him with the Iron Man on the card. You can play him at 200 points without it, so worth noting that. If you don't have the Iron Man, but definitely worth getting the Iron Man to play with him. And then kind of just see quickly the rest of what his dial looks like there. Long dial, of course, for being such a big character that's so many points. You know, lots of good powers there with the Charge and the Quake. He's got some Flurry, you know, lots of Perplex and Outwit and that kind of stuff. Some Precision Strike, some Super Strength, some Exploit Weakness. That 8 range is really nice, though. mainly a close combat figure, but if you play him at 500, he does start with that running shot pulse wave, which is awesome. And yeah, that's pretty much it there. But yeah, I love him. I've actually had great success playing this guy in the past. He's been tons of fun for me. I've won almost every game I've ever played with this guy, except for a couple ridiculous ones. But this guy has done very well for me. And yeah, he's just super fun. I love him. He's huge, and you know, we don't get a lot of these huge Iron Man figures, except for him and Phoenixbuster. So it's just a lot of fun to play a big Hulkbuster armor that can actually take on multiple Hulks, a whole team of Hulks. This guy can bust them all. But yeah, so anyway, for all those reasons, you know, he's going to come in at #1 best Buster suit in Heroclix. Alright guys, so that's going to wrap it up for this top 5 episode. If you liked it, make sure you smash that like button for me. And before you go, make sure you let me know in the comments what your favorite Hulkbuster, Thor Buster, Phoenixbuster, whatever Buster figure is. Or what you hope kind of Buster figure we get. Because I'm pretty sure there's like, we could use like a Galactus Buster, especially right now. It would be freaking awesome. But anyway, don't forget to click that subscribe button so you don't miss any more awesome top 5 lists and other Heroclix videos. And of course, a big thank you to this month's Patreon patrons. If you'd like to help support the channel, there's a link in the description there for our Patreon. We got a lot of awesome stuff for you to check out there. And you can see your name in the credits too. So big thank you to them. And yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. And until next time, this has been Heroclix Headquarters, signing off.